In 1999, a giant new sci-fi movie takes the world by storm.
Having changed cinema forever, they quickly made a sequel that people went, huh? This week we begin Matrix Month, a 1-month-long exploration into the Matrix movies in anticipation of the new film Matrix Resurrections with Matrix Reloaded.
How Star Wars is it?
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the show.
I'm springing out my flip phone and I'm saying hello to you all.
It's not what's up. It's 1999. For you babies out there, that was a commercial, I think, for Budweiser. I don't remember. Who could say? We're talking about... Wait, what is this show? This show is How Star Wars Is It.
That's a really good question, Josiah. This show is called How Star Wars Is It, and it's the only podcast, and it is where we rate and review everything on a scale of 1 to 10 of how Star Wars that thing is.
That's right. We're not concerned with how good or bad things are. We're concerned with the quantity of Star Wars, not the quality of the thing. So we take everything Star Wars... books, movies, TV shows, toys, you name it. We put it all in one big pot. We mix that pot up. We set that pot to simmer. That pot becomes the Star Wars chili. It is a 10 out of 10. We compare things to that chili.
Yeah.
And this week, our job is a little easier than it is sometimes because we are talking about an entry in a sci-fi franchise that, as Mike alluded to in the cold open, people went, huh? About.
Yes.
Okay, we're talking about Matrix
Reloaded.
Reloaded.
Matrix Reloaded. Now, we listeners, it is Matrix Month, so you should maybe take the opportunity after, of course, this episode is done, to go back and listen to our episode on the Matrix that we did, 2 years ago?
2 years ago? Yeah, we did that episode, straight up 2 years ago, because I remember...
It might have even been long enough ago that if I do some quick Googling, I can, or some quick searching on my... I can find what score we gave it.
Yeah, it was longer than 2 years ago because I watched it while I was in Alaska and we recorded an episode while I was in Alaska, I'm pretty sure. So this was an early one we did back when we were just sort of hungry, and we were just chasing down all the topics that we really liked. Mike was in a Matrix musical pretty close to that time.
That's right.
We were just and I had never seen The Matrix before. I had seen scenes from it that my older brother, that I had a memory while watching this sequel. I had the memory of my older brother showing me on the VHS, scenes from it that were cool, that were okay, I guess, for a 9-year-old to watch, however how old I was. I know, a 7, 8-year-old, however old I was. And it was the cool, infinite weapons locker, all the guns thing, and the parts where they come in with the trench coats and the stop trying to hit me parts,
right
which I guess it's okay for a child to watch violence as long as it's not too violent, apparently.
And
was my older brother's thinking.
The Matrix kind of, I mean, it certainly is violence and guns and all that, but it's not nearly as bloody as a lot of R-rated violent movies.
No, it's no Braveheart or Gladiator, which were
or Tarantino or...
Yeah, those ones are always the ones I think of because they were the weird, or The Patriot.
Right, you're yes, we've talked about this before, I'm certain. Because that was also, for me, one that was you can watch The Patriot, it's history.
Yeah. They're weirdly Christian somehow. The Christians decided that these ones are okay to watch.
Right.
For some reason.
Yes.
I guess because they love Mel Gibson no matter what he does.
So, okay, I want to hit the ground running with describing this movie.
It's impossible.
Maybe crazy, but okay, so here's where I want to start the conversation, because I have watched this movie a lot now, and more importantly than that, I've watched an awful lot of YouTube essays about this movie and about the sequels, and I've listened to the Blank Check podcast about the Matrix movies 2 or 3 times over, and I feel like I really understand these sequel movies, and That's not to say that they did a good job communicating their own ideas, but I now know what those ideas are.
Sure. I will say, as someone who had never seen this movie before, okay, if we're going with big picture what the movie is, let me tell you, listeners.
Yeah.
It's not like The Matrix.
No, so Matrix, guy gets plucked from obscurity. He's actually the chosen one. He goes on the hero's journey, saves the day. He frees his own mind from limitations. And then it's like, cool, how could there ever be a sequel?
Yeah. And then the sequel, okay, this is my big picture idea for this episode. The Matrix Reloaded is like if George Lucas made Star Wars, A New Hope. Mm-hmm. And then the next movie that he made was all the prequels at once. Because, which is not necessarily speaking of the quality of the movie making here, because like I think there is some expertise in the craft to be seen by the Wachowskis. The lore that this movie drops on you immediately is wild. Because the first movie does not even really hint at any of this.
Yeah.
And then the second movie comes in and it's like, oh, you know Morpheus, the really cool trench coat, like badass dude from the first movie? Well, he's actually a false prophet, crazy person who like people think he might be actually insane.
Right.
And he's also like sort of, he's not a false prophet. He's like a zealot. He's like a religious zealot.
Right. He believes in the prophecy of the one.
Yeah. And
so
then
here's crazy, like what you said, lore that you need kind of, or that you're thrown going in. There's two things. One, the Animatrix has a ton of lore. One of the things is kind of a prequel to this movie. And then there were like 45 extra minutes of like cinematic filmed on film like this movie stuff with the characters from these movies for the video game Enter the Matrix.
Yes.
Because it was supposed to be kind of this like, oh, you go see the movie, then you play the game, and you get like the whole story.
Right, like everyone wanted to do in 2003.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense because the whole time you are kind of going like, am I supposed to understand everything? Like, which isn't like this movie. I don't know. It's not that wild because they are basically just giving you a world that they are acting like they already told you things about.
Right.
Which is just wild because the first movie did so little of that. Like it was very much, I mean, there was world building for sure.
The first movie does a great job of not telling you a thing until about like an hour in, and then it's when the character needs to learn those things. So your imagination is running wild, trying to figure it all out. And then they start spelling it out more and more to Neo because it's his like first day on Earth.
Like the fact that there is, I know that we knew there was a city called Zion. Mm-hmm. Like I know we knew that from the first movie. And that
if
it was
the
like
war
a human...
was over tomorrow, that'd be where the party is.
Yeah. Like I know that place exists. The fact that it is home to thousands is something that was not in my mind. Zion was like that ship and two other ships, and like there were like the idea that there's so many people that have been set free from the Matrix is crazy because the first movie makes it seem like it is this really special thing that doesn't happen very often, and that this is like the beginning of a revolution. And then the second movie comes in, and there's a council. Mm-hmm. There's a council of people.
Because... So speaking of like lore that like you might not necessarily get by watching the movie at least one time, the most critical scene in the entire movie is that last one with the architect. Or it's not the very last scene, but you know, and it is so difficult to follow, and he's so he uses such big words, which of course is like a character, like that's a clever character choice that he's like the smartest guy, you know, like he's sort of trying to convince you how smart he is because he like invented everything. Like, so it is like a cute detail, and of course he's like an old bland vanilla white guy, like someone we've never seen before, because there were talks I think of casting like some huge person as that role, and it's like so much better that it's this guy no one's ever fucking heard of. Anyway, he says in all the gobbledygook philosophy in that whole conversation, he also says specifically, you choose this door the Matrix resets. Zion is destroyed except for the like 6 men and 30 women or whatever the number is he gives them that you get to pluck out to repopulate the human race, because the idea of a rebellion and something to fight for is built into the system of control that the machine, like we are led to believe at the end of the first movie that the Matrix is the system of control. But in fact, it's even bigger than that. It's the machines already have such a hold on humanity that this version of the Matrix is actually the like 6th Matrix. And in the first one, they make the point to say that like they've tried and failed with matrices before. But in that architect speech, he basically says like humanity, the Zion, is there will not be one more new person. Like it's about to be completely decimated, and you're gonna start over, and we're gonna make a new the one, and another 100 years will go by, and Zion will like fill up again.
Right.
Which have you seen the Black Mirror episode, like 10,000 merits or 100,000 merits or something like that? It's like it's in the first season, and it's got that guy from Get Out, Daniel Kaluuya. Is that his name?
I have not seen it. I've only seen one episode of Black Mirror, and it was the Star Trek one.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, in that reality, they all ride bikes all day to like get points to like buy digital shit. It's basically meta.
Hell yeah. Oh, it's yeah, for sure.
And he kind of goes rogue. I can't take it anymore, kind of thing. And then the screens they're all watching as they ride bikes, there's like entertainment on it, and like the powers that be like snap him up and give him his own show about like rebelling against the system. It's like, we know humans to want to rebel against systems that oppress them, so let's let them do that, or let them think they're doing that.
Yeah.
Which is like, I really wish they did a better job explaining that in this movie, because that is like a fucking trip.
I was primed for that because I've discussed The Matrix with you before.
Yes.
And so I knew what he was saying to an extent. And I was like, this is an interesting idea. This is a cool idea. So, I don't know. Big picture for the listener. If we're to describe the plot of this movie, it's basically your favorites from the original. Mm-hmm. They're all here. Trinity's here. Morpheus is here.
And
Neo's here.
And boy, do they gotta get the codes.
They gotta get the codes. And also, they gotta make out.
Yes.
Trinity and Neo, any chance they get.
They have to be two parallel flat white boards on top of one another during a rave.
Yes, that scene is wild. I have a lot of notes, but so they have to get the codes. They got to go. They're waiting for a call from the Oracle because there's something will help with the prophecy. So they're trying to get into they have to like find the right place in the Matrix to get to the Oracle.
And there's this guy, and he has to fight him, Seraph.
He has to
and it's like, fight. Seraph is like a CAPTCHA.
Yeah,
he's
Seraph
like,
is like a
prove
CAPTCHA.
that you're a human.
Seraph is the Gom Jabbar Dune reference. Seraph is also an angel protecting the Oracle. Seraph is, the seraphim and the cherubim. Cherubim and seraphim.
But also, seraph is a font word.
Oh, yes, like that's true. I don't think it's spelled the same way, but...
SERIF.
I will allow it. Then they have to go find another guy who gives them another guy who like can open the door to take them to the source.
The Keymaker is being held prisoner. The Keymaker is a program from an old Matrix, and he's being held captive.
We discovered that the Oracle is also a program.
Yes.
So we're like, these are not real people; they are programs. But then Neo the whole time is also struggling with this idea of like control and choice and like who controls who.
Yes, this movie is about choice and cause and effect and a further higher system of oppression that you weren't previously aware of.
Right, that you did not know existed. And So they find and then interspersed throughout. Don't worry, there's a lot of great fights.
That's the thing. That's like the critical thing that this movie isn't great with. It's like, let's talk about philosophy for 30 minutes, and then it's like, oh fuck, I think people are gonna be bored. Let's have him fight every guy. Let's have him fight so many Agent Smiths.
There's a weird thing going on with Agent Smith that's not, and I didn't realize this. This movie is very much a part one in a way. Because, like, it does not have a real ending.
No. Yeah, so in fact, the cliffhanger ending kind of fucking sucks, too. We'll save some of that, for our Matrix Revolutions episode. But, yeah, Agent Smith, he killed at the end of the first movie. He jumped into him and exploded him.
Or so we thought.
And then what he has actually done is, like, freed Agent Smith, who was already, by the end of that movie, was kind of going rogue from the other agents. Like, he was sort of, he had agency. And Neo exploded him, and now he has even more agency. He's a total free thinker. He is a virus, Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, and he's turning Mr. Anderson. The way that Hugo Weaving talks in this movie is like unhinged, for lack of a better word. That's one of my notes. He's talking so strangely, like a freaking maniac. Every word is like chomped and like split up and really rolled around his mouth.
Which I would even argue is an acting choice. That
I'm sure.
Went from being sort of weird and stilted sounding, but like straight-laced, to like kookier.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I think the program that is Agent Smith, fancies himself a mustache twirling villain.
Yes, definitely.
Like, he saw all those movies and was like, that's who I want to be.
He kind of like even says that himself, as like when he's confronting Neo the first time and talking to him, like being like, I'm going to do to you what you did to me, or something. But then also his whole plot has no bearing on the main crux of the movie. Like the Agent Smith thing, I thought at some point was going to fold into the greater narrative, or like maybe all the agents were going to come and start, Agent Smiths were going to come start fighting the other agents, because they're like, no, I'm going to get to kill Neo. But that never happened. And I don't know if it's going to happen in the third movie, but I was like, what was the point of the million Agent Smiths?
I'm sure I'll mention this a bunch this month, but to go to the Patrick H. Willems YouTube video where he rewrites the sequels and just takes all the plot elements but reorders them and gives different dialogue to different characters or whatever. It's an excellent video that I think you should watch once you finish the series.
Okay.
He cuts Agent Smith from this movie altogether, except right at the very end is when we have that scene. You know that scene at the very beginning when Neo gets the package and it's like the earpiece and it's like it's sort of like a I'm coming for you kind of thing. He was like, that should be the very last scene of this movie, where it's like, cool. You know, like the main villain of this movie, who ostensibly is the main villain throughout the movie, is the Merovingian. The guy they have to get past to get the other guy to use to get past. Like, it is sort of a fetch questy thing. But anyway, his point is like, Smith becomes a big problem in the third movie, and let's just have that be the Smith arc. Let's have him take a movie off.
it felt weird. So of course, don't worry, they get the Keymaster.
The Keymaker.
The Keymaker, who is able to let them into the source, right? Which is the source code of the Matrix, which is where the architect is, who is the program that has created all the Matrixes. And that is where we learn that the Matrix is but one of 6 matrices that have always existed since the, or I guess since the machines took over. And have been just keeping humans sedated.
And like the first Matrix ever was a paradise, like a utopia. It didn't work. People's brains rejected the reality. They tried it again. They swung the pendulum the other way, which is funny. It is very machine thinking. Like, okay, if not 1, then 0. So then they went to like a hellscape, which is where all those Merovingian guys come from.
Yeah, there's a weird thing. The second
Matrix was like haunted house world where there's ghosts and vampires and shit, and the Merovingian like was somehow able to sneak out of that Matrix and hide in like a floppy disk with all of his fucking werewolf friends every time they reboot the Matrix.
That is such a weird plot thing that is
that
not...
idea.
And I love that idea too.
It's really glossed over.
It is the fact that she like the Merovingian is this like French dude who is holding the Keymaster, and you said he's the main villain, and I would almost disagree because he's only in the movie for the last half of it. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
It doesn't feel... This movie suffers... For big picture, guys, this movie is Star Wars. This movie is incredibly Star Wars.
It's pretty Star Wars, yeah.
Because it has all the issues that the prequels have, where you're like, who's the bad guy?
Who's the main character?
Who's the main character? Who am I supposed to...
What's Morpheus doing?
Yeah, what story am I following here?
Yeah.
Like... It has all those problems, and the whole time I just kept thinking, like, this is so Star Wars.
Yeah,
like, this is exactly the muddied storytelling of, like, we don't know who the main character is anymore. We don't know who the main bad guy is anymore.
Which is why it would be better if he were further solidified as, like, the guy. Like, he has an army of ghost twins and things, but he's in charge.
The fact that they just drop that, like, the Merovingian's, like, girlfriend uses silver bullets. Persephone uses silver bullets to kill this presumably werewolf, right? I guess, because that's what silver bullets kill.
Yeah, they're like watching a vampire movie. Like,
yeah, and they just drop the fact that, oh, these things are real, but they are left over from a previous Matrix run, so they're like less complex in a way, but they're like really hard to kill.
Right.
And
they were basically like the agents of Matrix 2.
Yes.
You know, like Agent Smith's predecessor was an actual werewolf.
Was just a werewolf. It's so
Which
weird.
I like to think that in Matrix 2 they looked like werewolves because they're sort of doing the like early 2000s X-Men thing here where it's like, well, we can't actually make them werewolves. They have to be kind of cool looking guys.
Everybody's wearing like some variation on form-fitting black leather or spandex, like with zero deviation from that formula. But like the fact that they just drop in the fact that fantasy creatures exist and it's because of I'm like, that's truly wild. And they do, and like then the two ghost twins, like the white guys with dreads, because like I was like, are they albino? And I was like, no, I think they're just two white guys with dreads that are being made up to look very pale and are also ghosts. Yeah. But have like Medusa hair whenever they turn into ghosts.
Yeah, right.
There's a lot going on.
And you know what's funny? Before all the Merovingian stuff, the Oracle even says when she's saying like, yeah, I'm a computer program. I'm part of this whole thing. So how can you trust me or whatever? And then she was like, everything's a computer program. That bird's a program. Any talk of an angel or a ghost, that was the Matrix. Like, I love that, you know, in the first movie, it sort of says like, do you feel like things are out of place and you're sad? That's the Matrix. And then in this, it's like, dude, guys, everything's the Matrix.
Everything. Also, this idea is so troubling because in the real world, like in the reality of the Matrix, humanity did exist for however many millennia.
Till like 1999, 2020, 2050.
And that is sort of like the Matrix is set in sort of an infinite 1999 time period. So humanity existed in real life before the machine singularity happened. And so the legends of vampires and werewolves still existed in the real world. And so then I guess whenever the machines came in and wanted to make a really bad scary one, they just took stuff from, I guess, folklore.
Yeah, they were like, what did like Mary Shelley think was
what did horror writers in the 1800s think was really scary?
Right. Which like to a machine, the like Turner classic movie monsters would probably be the first place they'd go. You know, like they'd probably be like, what scares humans? And then they'd like scan through all of history and that would be like the first thing that had like a big hit.
Yeah, the scariest thing is Frankenstein. And then they're like, they made so many Frankenstein movies. They must hate this guy. And
but
then,
it does make me wonder, like, what, you know, because I think he also says, the architect says, the Oracle came to be in like Matrix 3, I think.
Yeah,
because again, like that's when
3.
like the humans, like the machines need the humans to accept the matrix they're put into. And 95% of people are going to, if it's just sort of like regular doldrums life, but like 5 to 10% won't, and they think something's up and they need to like be freedom fighters. And that's like why the Oracle exists, to like sort of give them this like false hope that actually you're being controlled, but really you're being controlled, and then above that you're being controlled. So like
right. So
Oracle, and the thing that the Oracle keeps doing every time they reboot is like she's sort of playing on the side of the humans. She wants that, you know, she's programmed to want them to succeed at their mission. Yeah. And inevitably it comes down to the choice of, you know, save humanity or don't. But the thing that she did this time around was tell Trinity in the first movie, or you know, off screen before the first movie, she tells him, you're going to fall in love with the one. And she does. So she's like manipulating Neo and Trinity to fall in love, because she's like, essentially to them, you know, what's 100 years? It's like a hand at the poker table, essentially. Yeah. And like for this hand, she's like, maybe I'll make them fall in love, and then the guy, the one, the anomaly, will, instead of choosing to save all of humanity, maybe he'll choose to save his girlfriend. And he does, which like foils the architect's plan.
Which is like, I don't understand, because he has doomed the human race to save Trinity momentarily, and then now all of like, okay, it does.
But I do like to think that it was her just going like, I don't know, like, you know, when when you're trying to fix like a TV, and it's like, I don't know, maybe like fiddle with the cables.
That's literally me with my HDMI cable this entire video call. I'm gonna go through some of my notes, because I feel like we are so in the weeds. And guys, this movie's just so the first thing I wrote is, I don't remember anything from the first one, / I remember everything but not like the important stuff, I guess. But then as it went on, I realized, no, I do remember everything that happened in the first one. It just like has
off
no bearing on anything. All the dialogue in this movie is, I am the Senate, not yet. Like, that is like, the dialogue is so clunky, and the delivery
circular.
Is so it's, and like there's times when you can tell they're like, that was a joke, and I'm like, no, it wasn't.
Cause and effect. I drank too much wine. I have to take a piss.
Or like whenever Agent Smith turns, he's like, you, me, and then he's like, me too, and I'm like, stop.
And then when Neo throws one Agent Smith and it knocks down a bunch of other Agent Smiths,
and it makes a bowling
sound.
pin noise. Yeah, it makes a literal actual bowling pin noise.
This movie is like Jar Jar to the max.
Yeah, there are times whenever, so like they have Neo doing so many big fights with so many different guys.
Yeah, he's very gooey.
He turns to goop a lot, and like it doesn't bother me that much, because the character models of guy in long black jacket versus guy in black suit, they are simple enough to where your eyes are like, okay, whatever, like I'll deal with it.
If any movie's gonna have somewhat noticeable CGI, it maybe is fine that it's where their actual image, their eye is CG.
Yeah, and they're also like in a computer,
right?
And so it's,
they are CGI, computer generated imagery.
Yes. Oh, I see what you mean. The eye, not the eye.
Letter
I
eye.
About their eye that they see out of, which is also CGI.
Right.
Yes, there's a lot of pretty fights in this. The fights are creative, but also all of them go on too long. Everything goes on too long. Like in every blockbuster, it's just like every fight or chase sequence is just a little bit too long.
Yeah. They need to like cut to the chase quicker with both the fight scenes and the philosophy.
Yeah.
Like the philosophy is so heady that they need to be a bit they need to simplify it a little bit so that you like can, you know, like the French, the Merovingian is just so verbose and
Yes.
flourishy that, again, it takes like 4 times watching it to even like clock the meaning of his dialogue.
Yeah, this is case in point. The like techno rave that is with like the old timey drums too that are happening, intercut with Neo and Trinity boning,
laying flat on one another.
Yeah, at first I was like, this fucking rules, and then it went on for so long that I was like, I liked it when it was a 1 minute sequence, and then it went on for like a solid at least 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah,
which is too long.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of uncomfortable close-ups of them kissing with like you can see spit coming off of their tongues. It's nasty. Also, like, this is, I don't mean this in a mean way or a bad way, but like it's sort of strange to me that the character of Trinity is treated as this like so unattainably sexy and beautiful woman, because she's like an attractive woman, but she's not even the most attractive woman in this movie. She's
very angular and very pale and very stoic.
Like, and she's incredibly good at what she does, and I'm not going to take that away from her at all, but it's just weird that she's like the first opening shot of her is like very sex symbol, and I'm like, no.
Right.
Not at all. Like, I don't get that vibe at all.
I weirdly love, though, the, like, aesthetic of these movies so much, down to even things like casting, that, like...
Yeah.
This weird pale guy who maybe doesn't know anything, especially at the beginning of the first movie, and this weird pale lady who's, like, smarter than everybody and makes sure you all know it, and, like... She doesn't even have that sort of, like, I'm a girl boss energy. She just sort of has, like... she as a human feels like she has like stats.
Yeah, and they're high.
Yeah, like I love how it's not necessarily that they're telling, not showing, but like a lot of the buy-in you have to make as an audience member to these movies is like believing what they're telling you, regardless of like what your eyes are telling you. Know, like the movie does tell you she's the hottest lady, and like it doesn't necessarily show you that. And it also tells us that like Keanu Reeves is the hottest man, and then like even he is also like in this movie. It's like, okay, really? Yeah. He's kind of a skinny little guy, isn't he? Like you think the one would be a little beefier, this is all very Star Wars. That this romance is so critical to like saving the entire human race is based on this tell don't show relationship between two people with not an awful lot of chemistry. Not an awful lot of chemistry and not a lot of sex appeal on their own or together. I thought Persephone though. Persephone? I love all that shit because Merovingian runs the criminal underworld, like literally, like or you know the way we use that phrase, but like also conceivably he is sort of the devil, and like his underworld is like monsters and like Persephone, like everything. Persephone is his girl, Hades / hell / monsters. It is once again like the first one, like the names of everything are big important names that are the thing that they are doing. Right. Like Seraph is an angel protector guy. You know, the Oracle obviously is an oracle. Like, but Persephone is the romantic interest of the bad guy. Right. Man, we haven't even talked about the freeway scene. Yeah, because it's 1,000 years long. It is long, but of all the action in that movie, in both the sequels, in fact, I would say it's like by far the coolest because like so much shit happens in it. There's a lot of different set pieces on a freeway, which is pretty cool. Let me see what other notes I have. And it's like one of the few things that Morpheus like gets to do. Yes, Morpheus actually gets to do something. The computer orgasm was weird. Yeah, and like, I have that written down too, the orgasm cake. Yeah, orgasm cake is strange. Choice is an illusion created by those with power, like for those without. That's great. Yeah, and I was like, did they make that up? Because that sounds like a quote from something else. Mm-hmm. You know, there was a couple things in this where I was like, is that a Matrix original? Because if so, props, because it sounds like it was from something else. Yeah, it's why it's even more crazy to me that so many like alt-right people are like, yeah, the red pill or whatever. Like, the Matrix movies could not be more about you assholes.
Yeah.
And not the way you think they are.
Yeah, about like oppressive regimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's truly upsetting how the imagery has been co-opted. I didn't take much notes at the end because I was just like trying to finish the movie.
The other piece that's like kind of at least made to seem critical is that another ship of Matrix people are in the Matrix, and Bane is the name of one of the guys who sort of looks sketchy and sort of looks like Hugo Weaving when Agent Smith finds him in the Matrix and does his like shove his hand into him thing and takes over his body like he has done with other people and other programs. He copied his own consciousness into Bane's computer Matrix self, and then when they unplugged Bane into the real world, his mind had been replaced by Agent Smith's mind.
I missed that is what happened because I mean, I didn't miss that he took over a guy, but I missed it was the same guy. Like, I did not see that those were the same guy. Like, I was like, yeah, that happened to another guy, and now there's this guy, Bane, and he's evil for some reason. But that makes a lot more sense.
It's annoying because, so Smith's in the real world. He's like, oh, wow, I can feel blood. I can feel being cut or whatever. But he doesn't do a whole lot of consequence, does he? I can't really remember.
No.
Does he push someone down?
He sabotages basically he sabotages, I think, one of the ships that has to be... I think he does that. One of the ships that goes to help them ends up exploding because the crew is killed. And I think he's responsible for that. And then he's also responsible for the plan for all the ships, the defense not going like as it was supposed to go. Right.
He's going to try to like fuck up the humans' plans from the human world.
But then it's also like, why?
But then he gets zapped. Like, Neo at the end of this movie, here's another very confusing thing that happens in this movie. Neo somehow has Matrix powers in the real world.
Okay, let me say something. Why, like, once again, Hugo Weaving, Agent Smith, Mr. Smith, has been so of no consequence throughout this movie. He's just been an annoyance. He's not a part of the actual plot.
Yeah.
But then for him to come into the real world to sabotage the humans, it's like, well, why are you doing that?
Yeah, you shouldn't be acting on behalf of the machines. You are now a third thing.
Yes, I thought you were like awakened. Like, why are you doing their thing? It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
It's a strange choice. I think he just
wants like kind of chaos in the sense of like he wants to just keep replicating himself. But I think he needs the Matrix in order to do that.
I know that there has been a lot of fuss about the fact that Neo has powers in real life. It didn't bother me at all.
Yeah, I think he is the chosen one, and I also think that, like, a lot of movies, like Looper or Minority Report or Dune, they make these points to be like, decades, generations, centuries into the future, humans start developing like other powers.
Sure.
Like maybe he's the one in a million who can do like an EMP out of his hand because it's actually 2600 AD or whatever.
And I don't know, maybe correct me if I'm wrong on this. Maybe it goes into it more in the third one. But like my understanding is that he being the one, he is an anomaly. He is basically part machine in a very weird way. Like the algorithm of the machine, the program of the machine was in him from birth.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And so he has he
was born in a pod.
Yeah, so he
built that.
He has abilities to interact with the machines in different ways. Like that didn't bug me.
Like when he was a zygote, they like shot him full of like EMP juice.
Right, because they knew that he was going to be the one, and and so that was his purpose. But then like they have never had an issue with the one going rogue like he did before.
Right.
And so it's like, well, if he is able to view the Matrix in all these ways and have all these powers inside the Matrix, the fact that he can, at least so far, I haven't seen the third movie yet, but shut down machines that are also running on the same program using the will of his mind. I'm like, I totally buy that. He has part of the program inside him. Like, of course he can do that.
Yeah, it's like having like twin powers.
Yes, twin telepathy.
Like if or even like me and my sister, like if she walked in here right now, I could like, oh my God, dude. Over Thanksgiving,
did you have a lot of
we were playing
things?
Heads Up, and Spencer, Allie's boyfriend, he's been on the show too. You all listeners all know all of these people. By the way, speaking of listeners, right as we started this episode, a friend of mine from college, Drew. Hi, Drew.
Hi, Drew.
Texted me and said, apropos of nothing, I've been catching up on Hisui lately, and OMG, is it enjoyable? And he was, just saying hi, and we chatted back and forth, and he said, say hi to Josiah.
Thanks, Drew. Hi to you back.
I was like, wow, we're recording right now.
This is the only way I talk to people now is by talking to them on the podcast.
And hi Angela, and hi Colleen.
Hi Angela, hi Colleen.
Hi Lior, probably.
Maybe Lior.
Michael Delaney.
Anyway, what were you saying?
We're playing Heads Up over Thanksgiving, and we're doing a category like toys or something like that. The first one is whatever, we get it. Spencer's got the thing, The next word comes up. It's rocking horse. Allie and I are kind of across from each other in our family room, so we're both looking like to the side. And right as rocking horse comes up, our face is like pretty expressionless, but we both just like slowly turn and like make eye contact with one another. And then we just explode into hysterics, and we all have to stop the game because Allie and I, without even indicating, we didn't even go like, oh, we just sort of looked at each other square at the exact same time because we were both thinking of this, I want to say, commercial that would run between like actual programming on Nick Jr.
Sure.
Far past when we were old enough to not be watching Nick Jr. anymore. And it was this little like puppet dog, like a puppy, who sang it with this little breathy voice, and it was this. 1 little, 2 little, 3 little puppies on a walking horse. And when rocking horse came up, I think both of our brains went walking horse, and we just like slowly looked at each other. It was so bizarre. Like everyone else in the room was like, what the fuck?
I love that.
So anyway,
I think
he
I told
could
you
do that, but with robot electricity.
I think I told you the one recently that happened where my sister called me and she was like, I'm trying to think of this song. And the only clues she gave me were she thinks it has the word I in it. And that it was like a song, like it was like one of our older brother's songs. And I was like, oh, Lazy Eye by Silver Sun Pickups. And she was like, yes! Speaking of Silver Sun Pickups, we were talking about that on the Patreon episode.
Yeah.
I don't think I have any more specific notes. This movie is very Star Wars. It is a sequel that expands the world in arguably not successful ways.
Right.
In some successful ways.
Yeah, it's just like in, you're right, the prequels, how it's like, it's gooey looking, and he had some real big idea swings that just like didn't have the communication to us in such a way that they worked. In the prequel sense, a lot of is dialogue and acting, and in this, it's a little bit of that, but it's more just like the writing. They wrote The Matrix over the course of like a decade. That's why it's so tight. And this is like they clearly had to write something fast, and they just kind of tried everything. Well,
what it reminds me of is like as someone who has written stories for D&D before, like campaigns for Dungeons and Dragons, there's the main idea that you have that is normally pretty well planned out. It's pretty well thought out. And then there's the greater world that your idea lives in which you probably know most of the stuff. That's like the big stuff. But then if your group decides to go on an adventure in the bigger world, sort of outside where you've set this main like crux of this plot, all of a sudden your story gets a lot more vague. Yeah. And because or just like a lot more, you're not able to communicate the ideas as well because you only have them as ideas. They are not like like, I don't know, even stuff like, it's just there's a council, there's a city, there's like it's like an underground, like, old
You're totally right.
A lot of refugees.
This becomes even more true in Revolutions. Like all the war that happens in Zion in that movie, it's like humans fighting robots, and the humans are people we haven't even really met until that movie. So they are reduced to these just sort of like cliches, like the young upstart and the like old grizzled sergeant.
And there's
which is give us one of the characters we already know. Have Morpheus in that fight.
There's also the quote unquote the kid in this movie, and it's made to seem like he's going to be important, and then he's not at all.
Yeah, he is a product of the Animatrix.
Really,
he has an entire short in the Animatrix like canon that is about him escaping the Matrix and Neo being involved.
That's what they're referencing, is because they kept being like, Neo, you saved him, and I was like, did I miss something in the first movie?
Yeah, no. What they're saying in that scene though is like, okay, so Neo and his crew are just out saving people, and they make references to that throughout the movie. Like we've freed dozens of minds just in the past year or whatever.
It is
like asking an awful lot.
It is asking an awful lot. It feels like such a product of that early millennium to be like, in order to really experience this movie fully, you have to have watched these animated shorts and played this video game.
Right.
Because I feel like most studios are savvy enough now where they know audiences aren't going to do that. Mm-hmm. Like, it's a big enough ask that I have to see every Marvel movie to know what's going on. Right. Like, you're not going to make me go.
Meanwhile, Disney Plus, like, before they release a new show, they're like, check out this thing that's just like a clip package of other instances where Scarlet Witch is on screen. Like,
yeah, just so you can kind of get a primer. Should we go to the break?
We should, yeah.
And let's come back and play a game.
Yeah.
Anyway, folks, this movie is Star Wars. Like,
you're right.
It's going to be pretty high.
You're making me realize it is very Star Wars.
But let's jump into the Starlight Pit.
Yeah. Wahoo! That were hack.
Yeah. Do you remember that Neo's a hacker, like a computer programmer?
Like that's his into thing. The Matrix.
Hilarious.
Gosh, you're right that this is the prequels. I'm like thinking more about it now. Like, it is very. Hey, okay, what if we just try all these things? Maybe there's werewolves, and maybe Smith is back and he can copy himself, and maybe actually the Matrix isn't the system of control. It's like a system of control under a system of control, and maybe there's a guy in a white suit. Like, it is just like, what if there's like Darth Maul, and maybe we see that Anakin is the one who built C-3PO?
Yeah. It's like
maybe Boba Fett is a clone of his own dad, and that's the clones of the Clone Wars. Yeah.
That was my biggest first impression of just like the first 45 minutes of this movie. I was like, oh, okay, this is just the prequels. It is trying to world build in a world where it's sort of asking you to understand a lot of stuff that you did not have the context. Because like that was the thing with episode 1, is it comes in and it's like, hey, it's Star Wars, but then it's introducing all this stuff and ideas that like really aren't present in the original trilogy at all. And so it's sort of asking a lot to be like, do you understand? You understand, right?
Yeah, man. Because this is what it's going to be. Is very the architect. It's like, okay, so you know that there is the Force, and that's how people. You know that there is the Matrix, and that's how people can. And then it's like, actually, no.
Actually, there's only another specific thing people beyond that.
Yeah, you're right.
It's going to be high.
I do have the game. You just actually have me thinking about the actual premise of this show, and I'm like, holy shit, this might be one of the most Star Wars.
It's going to be up
we've
there
talked
for me.
About lately.
Yeah, for sure.
Plus, the original trilogy and the original Matrix were like revolutionary visual effects movies where it's like stuff is done in camera, stuff is done practically, and they're pioneering these like ways of doing special effects, like bullet time or spaceships flying through the sky that look like airplanes or whatever. And then the prequels and Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions are like, you can animate things on the computer now. You ever see VeggieTales?
Yeah, did you know that we can just we can make Neo do whatever we want now?
Man, we should do like an Easter special called How VeggieTales Is It?
I would love that.
Okay, the game this week, speaking of sequels, is I am on Empire Magazine's website, and they have an article.
Congratulations.
They have an article called the greatest movie sequels, and they list, per however they came up with the ranking, the top 60 movie sequels.
And we will be doing all of them.
You will be trying to figure out the top 10, and I have it up as the actual website, so I'm going to have to scan around to actually verify what you say is correct.
I've definitely made a sequel game for you before that wasn't this, but I'm saying that because I feel like I'm going to do well because I feel like I know some of them.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I did one time that were sequels that were better than the original, or possibly better than the original. So I might do well on this. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, this is basically that, but this is per empire.
This Strikes Back.
Right.
Okay, so I just have to guess the top 10. I got to make myself a little list. I'm going to start out.
And I'm going to Control F all the shit you say and tell you what number it is if it actually appears.
I'm going to start out strong. Godfather 2.
That is number 2 on this list.
I fucking
you got it.
Number 2 is Godfather 10.
Godfather 10?
Godfather 10. Sorry, number 2 is Godfather 2. Great. Let's see. Let's keep going. Toy Story 2.
Part 10, the squeakquel.
The squeakquel. Is Toy Story 2 on there?
Toy Story 2 is number 5.
Yeah, I fucking knew it, baby. Empire Strikes Back.
I know that's on here. Let me, it is...
They couldn't use it because it was the name of their magazine.
Number 7. Yeah, so all of your answers have been in the top 10. The reason it took me a second is I did Control F, Empire Strikes Back, and the first one on the page where that phrase was there was written in the little blurb about Return of the Jedi, which was number 35.
Oh, okay. So I was about to say Return of the Jedi then, but I guess not.
No.
Let's see. I'm getting kind of... Those are the big ones. I don't know. Spider-Man 2. That's a good one. I'm wondering if superhero movies will make it on here.
Okay. Spider-Man 2, Sam Raimi, 2004, is number 27.
Oh, not bad.
Yeah.
What year did this list come out?
It came out 2019.
Okay. What about Two Towers?
Sorry.
Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers.
I'm not getting Two Towers on here.
Is there Return of the King?
Let's see. Oh, I'm glad you brought this up. The very first little blurb of the actual article proper says, we have disregarded films that are really all of a piece, like Lord of the Rings and Kill Bill.
Gotcha. Okay, that's good to know. Then those don't count against my guesses.
Right. It also mentions series that share elements but restart each time, like Carry On or Three Colors, which I don't know what either of those are. But it also
sure,
it leaves out James Bond because there's 23 examples and they're basically all the same.
Right. I was gonna ask if there was any Bonds, but that makes sense. Let's see. Man, I wonder.
But your first 3 guesses were all in the top 10, right?
That's pretty impressive. Doing pretty good. I don't know. I maybe need a clue.
Let's go to the list.
What are we talking? Are there more older movies here, or are they more recent? What are we talking?
Within the top 10, number 10 is from 2014.
Okay.
Number 9 is from 2004.
Okay.
Number 8 is from 2004. Big year for good sequels.
Wow.
Number 7 is Empire Strikes Back. Number 6 is from 2008.
Okay.
Number 5 is Toy Story 2. Number 4 is from 2015.
Wow, a lot of recent ones.
Number 3 is from 1999. From 1991.
Interesting.
Number 2 is Godfather Part 2 from 1974. And number 1 is from 1986. I would... You're right that a lot of these are recent, but I would also argue that sequels didn't become movies until Empire Strikes Back, basically.
Yeah.
Or The Godfather. It was that 70s cohort that were a sequel can be a movie. A good movie. So,
are there any Marvel entries on this list?
Not in that top 10. Let me...
Good to know.
I bet they left that... Oh, no, hang on. There are Marvel on the list.
But not in the top 10.
Number 50 is Iron Man 3.
Interesting.
Number 20 is Captain America: The Winter Soldier, which I have forever said is my favorite Marvel movie.
That's a good one. All right, let's see. So there's no... Are there any superheroes at all? Oh, Dark Knight.
Dark Knight, yep. That is in the top 10. It is the one from 2008. It is... Oh, hang on. Number 6.
Number 6. There we go. We're coming back, baby. Dark Knight is there. Of course.
Came out 37 months after Batman Begins.
Are there any other superheroes in the top 10?
In the top 10, I think no.
Okay. No more superheroes.
Right, correct.
Is there any more science fiction or fantasy in the top 10?
An awful lot.
Okay, this is good to know.
Not an awful lot, but 2 or 3.
I'm trying to think of what are movies, with sequels? What
At
came out
least
in 2015?
one of these, in the same way of Godfather 2, is regarded as the best of them. Like Empire Strikes Back or Godfather Part 2.
Right.
Oh, yeah, in fact, 2 of them are kind of regarded as the better of...
No, not Die Hard. Well, it could be Die Hard 3.
Here's a crazy thing.
What?
Number 1 and number 3 are by the same director.
What?
And the number 1 on the list, the original one was not by that director.
Oh, so it's a remake then?
No, it's a sequel, I would say, but it is a bit of a genre tweak, and it's a new director.
What year was number 1 again?
1986.
1986.
And it's got a great sequel name. I almost made this a sequel name game, because Reloaded is such a
Boogaloo.
Strange thing. Yeah, I was gonna make an Electric Boogaloo game, but I was I can't figure this out.
I don't know. It's not. So there's no Die Hard, right? We already said that.
Not in the top 10. I think it might be on there though.
I might have to need some more clues. I know you've given me so many.
Yeah.
Same director.
I would argue that the original of this franchise, this is for number 1, is a horror sci-fi movie, and that its sequel is an action sci-fi movie.
Oh, Aliens.
Yes, correct.
There we go.
According to Empire, it's the best sequel movie.
I forget that that's a sequel. Sometimes.
Now, that should unlock number 3 for you.
Oh, same director.
Uh-huh. Or at least it should be a clue for number 3.
And then what year was number 3?
It was 1991.
91. Wait, fuck. Who directed Aliens? I gotta look that up real quick. Who directed Aliens? James Cameron. Oh, duh. So, 91. Titanic 2.
Yes. No, but you can abbreviate that and get the right title.
Tit.
Even shorter. Keep the number.
Terminator 2.
Yeah.
There we go.
T2. Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
Some of these are easier than I should have known both of those. I'm a bad movie fan.
So you've got the top 3 according to Empire magazine.
What year was number 4?
Number 4 is in 2015. I famously, I don't know how famous this is, but I have still not seen this movie, and it was the biggest movie for 2 whole years. It was the biggest movie that year, and people were still fucking watching it the next year.
Was it Mad Max Fury Road?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I love that fucking movie.
Yep.
That makes sense. That movie rules.
Then Toy Story 2, then Dark Knight.
Then Empire Strikes Back.
This one's a fun one, and I'm sort of surprised how highly rated it is by this film criticism publication, because
Lion King 1.5.
yes, and they gave it the points because it's the first sequel ever to. Well, no, that's not true, because Naked Gun 33 1/3 or whatever. I was gonna say it's the first sequel to have a fraction, but that's not true. No, it's not Lion King 1.5. I love this movie and I love this franchise, but I don't think of them as film.
Sure.
The canon of the cinema.
So it's a funny movie.
No.
No.
Not really.
Oh, Friday the 13th?
No. Let me see what else I can do to help you. It is an action movie.
Action movie.
And it's action style, kind of like molded action for a while, like specifically fight choreography.
Oh, Bourne Identity?
Yeah, the Bourne Supremacy.
Bourne Supremacy. That's hilarious. Are there any... Okay, so you have 2 more, 9 and 10. What can you give me the years for those again?
These ones are both less interesting to me because I don't know either of them really at all.
Okay.
But they are 2004 and 2014.
Okay. 2004. What was coming out in 2004? X-Men 2.
It is on this list. In fact, it is number 13, just under the top 10. And in fact, right above that is Evil Dead 2, and
nice.
number 11 is Superman 2.
I was going to see if there's a Superman. Are there any Rockies or Rambos or anything like that?
Not in the top 10. I'm sure there probably are on here, but let's see.
All right, you might just have to tell me for these last 2.
Yeah, I think I will. Oh, hey, number 44, Michael Delaney will be pleased. Mission Impossible 3.
There we go.
Let's see. Okay, so number 9 is Richard Linklater's Before Sunset.
Oh, I have no idea what that is.
And the Before series is a very highly regarded film series that I have not seen and I think I would probably really like. And then number 10 is The Raid 2.
Oh, I remember. I've heard of that.
Yeah, I don't know anything about those movies.
Is The Raid 2 the one where
and then
they're
to finish off the top 15, we've got Star Trek 2 The Wrath of Khan at 14, Mad Max 2 at 15, number 16, this is a fun one, it's another entry in the DC canon.
Is it? Oh, it's not Superman 2. DC canon. Is it newer or older DC?
Older.
Batman Returns.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good flick.
The one after that, number 17, now I just want to read you this whole list, is technically a prequel, but that doesn't matter at all. And you wouldn't even necessarily know it.
What is it?
Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And then Order of the Phoenix, and then French Connection 2, and then Captain America Winter Soldier. We'll call it a day at the top 20. That was Mike reads a list of sequels.
I liked it. I didn't do as good as I thought I would do, but honestly, I should have got a few of those. And I'm disappointed in myself, and I will punish myself. Don't worry, everybody.
You'll iron your fingers.
Mm-hmm. Well, we should aim towards wrapping up.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else from this movie is worth even mentioning.
Let me look at my notes one more time.
You're right. Okay, let's do some one-to-one Star Wars analogies in the same way that midichlorians and the Architect are the same thing, kind of. The werewolf goons, that's the whole crew in Attack of the Clones, Wat Tambor, the Techno Union.
The Council is the Jedi Council. That's obviously the same.
And they just sit around and bicker and don't get anything done. It takes the Morpheus type to go out and do it.
The 2 dread ghost guys are any of the cool bad guys with an interesting design that don't actually matter at all.
Yes, totally. They're Boba Fett, they're Captain Phasma.
Yeah, and they are visually distinct and they don't matter.
Yeah, totally. Darth Maul.
Yes. I mean, Neo is Anakin or whatever, obviously the one. You got the chosen one.
Totally.
Morpheus is Qui-Gon. Because he's off doing his own thing.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, he's a believer in a prophecy.
Yeah. I mean, it's wild that these movies even came out so close together.
Yeah, right. Well, and hey, they shot in Australia, and that is why Mouse, who's in the first Matrix movie, so that doesn't count for this one, but the guy who plays Mouse is also the guy, Elon Sleaze Bagano, who tries to sell Obi-Wan death sticks.
Sell you death sticks. I don't want to sell you death
I'm sure
sticks.
there's lots of those little things where an actor is in both or whatever.
For sure. Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, what else?
It's really...
Clones?
Clones.
Both
Obviously clones.
There's a bunch of people grown in pods, but also Agent Smith makes copies of himself.
Yeah.
An Australian actor and a New Zealand actor are clones.
Yes, they're basically the same.
They fly around in a ship.
There's robots. There's aliens. Wait, there's not aliens, but the robots look like aliens.
He can like use the Force in the real world and like zaps a droid. Robots is droids.
Robots is droids. Droids is dogs. Not in the Matrix. In the Matrix, droids is not dogs.
Droids is bad squids.
Something that I thought too, like, is that this is very Dune, and that they don't have thinking machines. You know, it's that same idea of like our machines are all quote unquote simple, and that they do not have any kind of intelligence to them.
That whole scene with the like elder councilman guy, where he's like, "What makes the machines that like heat our homes or like clean our water? What makes them any different?"
I swore that he was going to be evil because of how his eyebrows looked.
He has evil eyebrows to the max.
I was like, this guy has got evil eyebrows for sure. He's evil.
Control versus fate. That's kind of in both.
Destiny, the chosen one fighting against or for their destiny.
Yeah. Driving through a city, like that's very like I know we've sort of latched onto the prequels. That is Attack of the Clones. The like freeway chase is somewhat similar to the Zam Wessel chase.
Choosing to save your girlfriend over the fate of possibly the entire galaxy is present in both of these.
Yes. It's critical in the Matrix, and it's sort of part of the prequels.
Yeah. It's like, seems like it should be more important, but also feels like an afterthought in a way, because it's just that and they're both worried that she might die from a dream they had.
Yes.
They're like, it is
where Neo makes a concrete binary choice to save her. Anakin's is a little murkier, where it's like, no, fate is kind of making you choose. It's putting you in the room with Palpatine. You know, Anakin... Yeah. That's one thing about his whole story that I think, you know, when you begin his story as a cute little boy from Central Indiana, you have a hard time then making his quote unquote fall be of his own making.
Right.
Like, and I mean, without the audience turning on him and being like, oh, he's a bad guy now. But I mean, we all knew he was gonna be, which is like why it's weird that he doesn't really make any choices to become the bad guy.
He's just like, here I am.
Yeah.
So that's a difference, I guess. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like I could give it a rating.
Yeah.
It's about that time.
We didn't look, but or it's not on my spreadsheet because we stopped keeping track. But I don't know what we gave the first one.
Oh, I can try to find it real fast. Let's see. Hold on, I'm listening right now. Wait, hold on. Okay, I have terrible news.
I think I just scrolled past it, but what, did you hear it?
Yeah, I gave it an 8 and you gave it a 7.
Wow, we were so young.
Our scale has changed so much. I will not be held to what we used, what our past decisions were. Yeah,
no, and in fact, I think this is more Star Wars than the first one.
Yeah, obviously that's too high, especially because we've sort of set our Star Wars movies at the lowest are like an 8. Mm-hmm. My dog is in here with me.
Like, we've been watching an awful lot of Survivor the past couple years, and like, when you watch like YouTube videos or like you're part of like fan communities, someone might be, called like, oh wow, that person was great at challenges back in like 2006. And it's like, well, the game is different now and they might not do as well nowadays because, like when you hear this show, you need to know the day it came out because that's the scale we're using.
Yes, exactly. And you need to know like what we both had for breakfast and kind of like where we're at.
Right.
Well, let's see. It's obviously not a 7 or an 8 because that's too high, but it's pretty high. My dog is in here being disruptive.
Yeah, you know, with how fine-tuned we've made the Star Wars movies on the scale, it's making me go, did we take out all the fun of this podcast?
Maybe,
like,
because now
calling something like pizza a 7 or whatever, like, that's funny.
That is funny, and
but
we can still do it.
But we've done real, like, journalistic integrity.
Well, what we need to do is take what we've already done and do what Michael Delaney said and give Star Wars movies their own separate rating,
right?
Where they exist on a scale by themselves that's high.
Like, take the thumb off of the scale for all the other ones.
Yes, exactly. But
yeah.
Let's see. Let's give it a rating. We need to wrap up. So
we do.
My unit of measure is going to be, I don't know why they bothered me so much, but the little like holes on their back when they were rolling around like made me want to fucking vomit. So that's gonna be mine.
Mine will be like the crazy old melee weapons all mounted to the walls of the chalet.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, and this might be crazy, I'm gonna say a 6.
Yeah, that's where my brain was going, and I think I want to say like a 6.5.
Great. I like that, actually. Because that might, like, I was like, this movie's so Star Wars.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it, folks. This has been the first episode of Matrix Month.
Maybe the show just becomes binary, and we say, like, man, that was really Star Wars, and then we say why, or, like, if we deem it not being Star Wars, we just go, like, so what else? We already covered pie. What's your newest, like, takes on...
Well, we did have Iswe for a while, which was a mini segment. But anyway, this is the first episode of Matrix Month. We're going to be covering the Matrix movies and the Animatrix.
Yes.
In preparation for the new one that's coming out.
Yeah. Which will release at some point, but it will probably be like sometime into the new year.
Yeah, we got the holidays coming up, so we're not going to be like right on the gun of watching it and then recording it. But anyway, you can find all our info in the show notes. Email us at agoodpodcast@gmail.com.
Tell us what you think of the new movie when it comes out, because I know I'm going to want to talk about it.
Yeah. Go check out our Patreon for the price of just like a decent latte a month.
Yeah.
You can get a bonus episode every week and a commentary every month. And the commentary this month is Solo, a Star Wars story, and it's our best one yet.
Yeah, it's really good.
Honestly, go get just 1 month of this just to listen to the commentary, because I would say it's worth your money.
Plus, it's cheaper to get a month of our Patreon than to like go to the theater to see the new Matrix movie, and you're gonna do that.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's gonna do it. But that's it, I think, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then it's about time for Tubby Bye Bye.
I would say it is 100% time for Tubby Bye Bye.
It is. It's not even about time. No. It is time. So like we always say,
we love you.
And may the fourth
be with you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Whew, it didn't get too hot in this little room, but I am sweating a little bit.